The provision for doubtful debt is basically made for those people to whom the goods are sold on credit and they are expected to default making the payment. I said expected to. No one is defaulting yet. But we can understand based on the market trend, based on the past experience, that there are certain customers who do not pay you the dues at all. For them, as per the conservatism concept, it is said that it's always better to create, to maintain a provision for doubtful debts. So whenever you maintain a provision for doubtful debt, whenever the actual bad debts arise after that, those bad debts are adjusted against the provision instead of transferring to the P&L account. Just observe this as a situation. मान लो आदित्य का अभी बर्थडे आने वाला है ना आदित्य? आने वाला है बर्थडे? नहीं बेटा, अगले साल तो आएगा ना, ऐसे क्या कर रहा है? हाँ, तो मान लो अगले महीने आदित्य का बर्थडे आने वाला है, राइट, 2021 में. नाउ आदित्य इज नोइंग दैट द बर्थडे इज कमिंग, और अभी क्योंकि लॉकडाउन बहुत ज्यादा रिलीज होने लगा है, तो इट इज अज्यूम्ड दैट बंदे छोड़ेंगे नहीं, पार्टी तो देना पड़ेगा. तो आदित्य को जो भी पॉकेट मनी मिलता है, आदित्य क्या करता है, उसमें से थोड़ा पैसा उठा के साइड में रख देता है कि पार्टी के लिए पैसा साइड में रख दूं, कि जब भी पार्टी देना पड़ेगा एट दैट टाइम आई विल बी हैविंग द फंड्स फॉर दैट. सो आदित्य कीप्स द मनी असाइड फॉर दैट एंटीसिपेटेड एक्सपेंस. करेक्ट? मान लो आदित्य को पर मंथ 5,000 रुपए का पॉकेट मनी मिलता है. आदित्य, आई नो दिस इज वेरी लेस, बट मान लो, आदित्य हंस रहा है, सर 5,000 रुपए ये मैं साल का भी अगर गोड़ा कर लूं तो भी नहीं मिलता है. सर घर वाले जब चाहे तब पैसे दे देते हैं, फिर ये पॉकेट मनी वाला क्या कंसेप्ट होना चाहिए ना? इजंट इट आदित्य? बहुत पैसा देते हैं घर वाले, कोई टेंशन वाली बात नहीं सर, है ना? एनीवेज, सो 5,000 रुपए का इसको पॉकेट मनी मिला. ये 5,000 में से इसने 2,000 रुपए उठा के साइड कर दिए फॉर हिज पार्टी. अब सिचुएशन ये है कि जब इसका बर्थडे आया उस टाइम पे वो पार्टी किसमें से करेगा? जो 5,000 में से 2,000 अलग करके रखे थे उसमें से करेगा, कि जो 3,000 बचे हुए थे उसमें से करेगा? Whenever the party comes, at that time he'll spend from that 2,000 which is kept aside, or from the original amount that he is having. From that 2,000 that is kept aside or not? Yes or no? Why? Because he made that money kept aside for the given expense only or not? उसी तरह से जब हम एंटीसिपेटेड लॉस के लिए प्रोविजन फॉर डाउटफुल डेट बना के रखते हैं, तो later on if the customer defaults making the payment, in that case the bad debts will not be adjusted against the profit and loss account, but it will be adjusted against the provision for doubtful debt. अगर आपको याद होगा, जब मैंने आपको प्रोविजन सॉरी जब आपको बैड डेट्स का ट्रांसफर एंट्री सिखाया था, at that time I told you that bad debts will be transferred to the profit and loss account at the end of the year. But now I'm changing that statement, saying what? That if there is a provision for doubtful debt, then in that case the amount of bad debt will not be transferred to P&L account, but it will be transferred to what? To the provision for doubtful debts. Am I clear for everyone? Now, suppose अब आदित्य को 2,000 रुपए उसने साइड में रखे थे, उसमें से 1,500 रुपए खर्च हो गया. अब आदित्य के पास 500 रुपए बचे हुए. करेक्ट? अब वापस आदित्य को पॉकेट मनी तो मिला ही हुआ था. अब आदित्य को पता चला कि फरवरी में ना बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट डेट आने वाली है, एंड फॉर दैट इंपॉर्टेंट डेट Aditya will again be required to spend an amount of 2500. Compulsory है वो, mandatory खर्च है. There is no option to that Aditya has to avoid that expense. तो आदित्य को वो फरवरी की इंपॉर्टेंट डेट वाला खर्च करना ही पड़ेगा. तो अब ये जो 2500 का एक्सपेंडिचर है, वो वापस से वो पॉकेट मनी जो उसको मिला था उसमें से अलग करने वाला है. पर आदित्य नोस की जो पिछली बार हमने पैसा रखा था 2000 रुपए, उसमें से 1500 रुपए खर्च हुआ पार्टी के लिए. मतलब 500 रुपए पहले से बचा हुआ था. Yes or no? Now Aditya is requiring further 2500 rupees or not? No, he is requiring total 2500, जिसमें से 500 तो ऑलरेडी है. तो फर्दर एडिशनल वो पॉकेट मनी से और कितना पैसा निकालेगा? Only 2000 rupees and not the whole of 2500. Why? Because whenever you are maintaining certain provision, you wanted to maintain 2500, but against that you already had a balance of 500 or not. So you will increase your provision only by rupees 2000 and not by the whole of the amount to be maintained. Did you understand this point? In the same ways, when it comes to the provision for doubtful debt, to the extent the provision is maintained by the business, that provision is subtracted from the debtors in the balance sheet. I repeat, to the extent the provision is maintained by the business, the amount of provision is subtracted from the debtors in balance sheet. However, while debiting to the P&L account, we debit only the amount that is to be created or that is to be increased during the year. Observe it, what I said. सब बाउंसर गया, मुझे बहुत अच्छी तरह से पता है. Now just observe what we are supposed to do. तुम लोग का आज क्या इंटरनेट खत्म हो गया क्या कि आज सैटरडे है कि नेटफ्लिक्स पे प्रोग्राम देखने हैं, इस वजह से तुम लोगों ने वीडियो ऑन नहीं रखे हुए हैं? सर अवतार ठीक नहीं है सर, इसलिए वीडियो ऑन नहीं सर. अभी अभी नींद में से उठे हैं सर. आप सुबह 8 बजे लेक्चर रखते हैं, हम लोग बराबर वीडियो ऑन रखते हैं. Isn't it? Well, anyways, now when you want to create a provision, suppose it is given provision for doubtful debts is to be made at 2% of debtors. 2% of debtors. Now in the trial balance, suppose debtors given to me are 2 lakh. So against this 2 lakh, 2%, that means 4000 का मुझे provision for doubtful debt बनाना है. Yes or no? और उतना ही amount will be considered as my expense for the year. I'll pass the entry as what? To create provision. Please understand, provision is not an actual expense, that is an anticipated expense. इसीलिए जो प्रोविजन का अमाउंट है उससे हम लोग डेटर्स को डेटर्स को एडजस्ट नहीं करेंगे, डेटर्स में से सब्ट्रैक्ट करेंगे, पर डेटर्स को एडजस्ट नहीं करेंगे. Why? Because डेटर्स से तो पूरा पैसा आना बाकी है ना. अगर मैंने ये 4000 रुपए से मेरे कस्टमर का बैलेंस ही कम कर दिया, तो मैं कस्टमर से 4000 रुपए कम मांगूंगा या नहीं? मुझे कस्टमर से मांगना पूरे 2 लाख रुपए है, पर उस 2 लाख रुपए में से हो सकता है कि मुझे 4000 रुपए कम आए. That's why I'm calling this as what? Anticipated expense. This is not my actual expense. Are you understanding my point? So for that purpose, to create the provision, I'll pass the entry as profit and loss account debit. अब तक क्या होता था, जो भी आपके पास अकाउंट बैलेंस होता था, नॉमिनल अकाउंट का जो बैलेंस होता था, दैट वी यूज्ड टू ट्रांसफर टू द P&L अकाउंट. provisions are created from the P&L account. Am I right? The nominal account balances are transferred to the P&L account, but the provisions for anticipated expenses or losses are created from the P&L account. इसका हमारे पास पहले से बैलेंस होता है जो हम ट्रांसफर करते हैं, वैसा नहीं है, ये हम लोग नया प्रोविजन बना रहे हैं. Am I right? So profit and loss account debit rupees 4,000 to provision for doubtful debts, rupees 4,000. Did you understand this? Now my provision for doubtful debts is having credit balance or not? And as it is having credit balance, it will appear in my balance sheet onto the liability side. P&L account already debit ho chuka. Now observe it. How will it appear in my final accounts? Let's say this is my P&L account, and at the same time this is my balance sheet. All right. Now in my P&L account I'll have 2 RDD. In fact, it is not a reserve, it is a provision for doubtful debt only. Rupees 4,000. Correct? Now my RDD is having a credit balance or not? And provision for doubtful debt is a representative personal account as it represents the reduction in the value of debtors. So it will be carried forward from one year to another. Are you able to understand what I'm saying? See, what is happening is I am having the debtors worth rupees 2 lakh, multiple of the debtors. But out of those multiple of debtors, I may anticipate a loss of rupees 4,000, assuming that some of this 2 lakh worth of debtors will not pay the money to me. I am not knowing that who will not pay and who will pay. But based on my past experience, based on the industry standard, I understand that whenever there is a credit sale done, some part of that is non-recoverable money. कोई बंदा दुकान बंद करके चला गया, कोई बंदे का डिफॉल्ट करने का ही मन था, कोई बंदा तुमको चीट करने के लिए तुम्हारे पास आया था, whatever is the reason behind that. So in that situation, that amount that you are not supposed to receive should be anticipated, and for that you should keep a provision in your books of accounts. कंजर्वेटिज्म कहता है कि अगर आप लॉस एंटिसिपेट कर रहे हो तो यू शुड रिकॉग्नाइज, यू शुड रिकॉर्ड दैट इमीडिएटली इन योर बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट्स. अब क्योंकि ये वाला लॉस आप एंटिसिपेट कर रहे हो तो इट्स ऑलवेज बेटर टू रिकॉर्ड दैट इन योर बुक्स ऑफ अकाउंट्स और नॉट. अब लॉस ये एंटिसिपेटेड है, अब तक के हुआ नहीं है. करेक्ट? So that loss, anticipated one, has to be carried forward from one year to another or not. And for that purpose, what you should be doing is you should be crediting that anticipated loss account. That's what we did. We passed the entry as profit and loss account debit. क्योंकि ये loss था तो मैंने मेरा profit कम कर दिया. When you debit your profit and loss account, you reduce your profit or not. So you have passed the entry as profit and loss account debit to the provision for doubtful debts. Why provision for doubtful debt is credited? Because you are anticipating that as an expense or loss in your business. Are you able to understand now? Now this provision for loss has to be carried forward क्योंकि अब तक के हुआ नहीं है, आगे चल के हो सकता है. जब कभी भी ये लॉस होगा तब हमें इसका एडजस्टमेंट करना है. तो अगर तब तक मुझे ये लॉस कैरी फॉरवर्ड करना है, तो फॉर दैट पर्पस आई विल बी रिक्वायर्ड टू शो दैट इन माय बैलेंस शीट और नॉट, because all the account balances that you want to carry forward from one year to another, you need to show that in your balance sheet. Am I right? जिस तरह से हम असेट्स और लाइबिलिटीज के बैलेंसेस बैलेंस शीट में दिखाते हैं, बिकॉज वी आर कैरिंग इट फॉरवर्ड, इनकम और एक्सपेंस के अकाउंट्स हम लोग क्लोज कर देते हैं और उनका बैलेंस हम लोग डायरेक्टली पीएनएल अकाउंट में ट्रांसफर कर देते हैं. करेक्ट और नॉट? All the nominal account balances are closed and transferred to P&L account, but all the real and personal account balances are carried forward from one year to another, and that's why shown in the balance sheet. Did you understand it now? Hai na? Huh. So in my balance sheet, I'll show what? RDD, because it is having credit balance rupees 4,000, and on the asset side I'll have debtors of how much? 2 lakh rupees. Are you able to understand it now? Now the point of highlight here, against this RDD, am I supposed to pay the money to anyone? In fact, this is nothing but the amount receivable lesser from the debtors only or not. So logically speaking, for the better presentation, I am supposed to show my RDD along with the debtors only or not. And if I want to show my RDD along with the debtors, I'll be changing the place of it or not. And when the sides change, the signs will change. And therefore, instead of showing the RDD in the balance sheet onto the liability side, we reduce it from the debtors in the balance sheet onto the asset side. Did you understand what I did? अब सर आप कहोगे सर आपने तो डेटर्स आपके कम कर दिए. I have reduced the debtors on totality basis just for the sake of presentation. My actual debtors balance remain at 2 lakh rupees only or not? I have subtracted the RDD, but it is not from an individual customer's account. It is from the total debtors, and that too for the better presentation. Did you understand up till now? Yes or no? Now the further point, which is the important one, understand carefully. In the next year, when we come, we may incur certain bad dates. This was the first year when we had created the provision. In the subsequent year, we may incur certain bad dates, and we may be required to maintain the provision further or not. Understand now. Suppose in the trial balance X2, in the trial balance, I've been given debtors. This is trial balance. Rupees 2,50,000. Provision for doubtful debts. Rupees 1,500. Because provision will have credit balance, that's why I've shown it in the credit side. This is debit and this is credit. I've also been given bad dates. Let's say 1,000. Correct? Now bad dates given in trial balance means what? That bad dates is already been accounted and adjusted or not? So वापस से हमको bad dates के adjusting entry पास करने की जरूरत नहीं है. मतलब bad dates will not be subtracted from the debtors. Are you able to understand? Now, in the additional information, I've been told firm maintains provision for doubtful debt at 2%. मतलब क्या 2% ऑफ डेटर्स। मतलब क्या हुआ कि जैसे पिछले साल का प्रोविजन 1,500 रुपए दिया हुआ है, उसी तरह से इस साल का प्रोविजन 2.5 लाख रुपए का 2%, मतलब 5,000 रुपए मेंटेन करना है आपको। आर यू एबल टू अंडरस्टैंड दिस? नाउ ऑब्जर्व इट। आदित्य के पास टोटल 2,000 रुपए थे पहली पार्टी के लिए, है ना? उसमें से 1,500 वो स्पेंड कर चुका है पहली पार्टी पे, so he had the balance of 500 rupees or not? Now for his next party he wanted 2,500 rupees, but against that he already had 500 rupees or not? So now he'll further be requiring how much? Only 2,000 rupees or not? Same ways, now look at this example. Against the debtors of 2,50,000 you want to maintain the provision of 2%, that means 5,000. Now we already had a provision for bad debts of 1,500, जिसके अगेंस्ट 1,000 रुपए का बैड डेट हो चुका, मतलब प्रोविजन में हमारे पास ऑलरेडी 500 रुपए का बैलेंस है या नहीं? Are you able to get it now? And now I want to maintain 5,000, so I will be needing additional how much? 4,500. Yes or no? And that 4,500 will be taken out of what? Of the profit and loss account. डेटर्स को कम नहीं करेंगे, डेटर्स में से टोटल 5,000 रुपए ही माइनस होगा, क्योंकि द प्रोविजन दैट यू वांट टू मेंटेन इज 5,000 ओनली और नॉट? Observe it. I'll just make the statement in front of you. New provision required is how much? 5,000. Correct? Add bad dates, क्योंकि bad dates will now be adjusted against the provision, क्योंकि आपके पास प्रोविजन है। अगर प्रोविजन नहीं होती तो हमने बैड डेट्स डायरेक्टली पीएनएल अकाउंट में ट्रांसफर किए होते। How much is the bad debt? 1,000. सब टोटल thereof comes to 6,000. इतने की आपको टोटल प्रोविजन की रिक्वायरमेंट है, पर इसके अगेंस्ट ऑलरेडी आपके पास प्रोविजन कितने थी? ओल्ड प्रोविजन अवेलेबल is 1,500 or not? Therefore, debit to P&L account will be 4,500. Are you able to understand this? एक अलग तरीके से वापस से इसको उल्टा समझाता हूं मैं। ओल्ड प्रोविजन अवेलेबल is 1,500. Correct? Less bad dates, क्योंकि बैड डेट जो हुए उसी प्रोविजन के अगेंस्ट ही हुए, है ना? कितना? 1,000. बैलेंस अवेलेबल इन प्रोविजन इज 500, है ना? Yes or no? New provision required. New balance to be maintained. How much is that? मेंटेन कितना करना है टोटल? 5,000 रुपए। Therefore, additional provision required How much is the additional provision required? 4,500. समझ आया आपको? We can understand this from the accounting point of view also. Understand, observe it. If I prepare a provision for doubtful debt account, क्योंकि हमको बनाना ही पड़ेगा आगे चल के, खाना हाथ से खाओ या काटे चम्मच से, खाना पेट में जाना चाहिए. By which method you are solving is irrelevant. Your answer should remain correct. Provision for doubtful debts. मैं सिर्फ इजहार का तरीका बदल रहा हूं. इजहार वही कर रहा हूं जो होना चाहिए, क्योंकि इजहार सही तो इनकार नहीं. ये हमेशा याद रखना. Now, provision for doubtful debt, you already had a provision of balance of 1,500 in that or not? क्योंकि 1,500 का बैलेंस था, तो in the provision for doubtful debt on the credit side I write by balance brought down. How much? 1,500. Now, till the previous year, when we were not having the provision, the bad debts were getting transferred to P&L account. But now, because we are having the provision balance with us, therefore bad debts won't be transferred to P&L account, but will be transferred to the provision account. Write down this as a point to remember. When there is no provision for doubtful debt available, when there is no provision for doubtful debt available, the bad debts loss is transferred. The bad debts loss is transferred directly to the profit and loss account. Directly to the profit and loss account. Full stop. Next line. However, याचा अपोजिट पाण्यावर नाही बर का. ऐसा सुचरित सर बोलते होंगे तुमको. However, पाण्यावर, no? असो, write down. However, if a provision for doubtful debt is maintained, if a provision for doubtful debt is maintained, the loss on account of bad debts, the loss on account of bad debts is transferred to profit and loss account. I'm sorry, is transferred to provision for doubtful debts account. Is transferred to provision for doubtful debts account and not to the P&L account. तो इस सिचुएशन में हम लोग बैड डेट्स कहां ट्रांसफर करेंगे? टू द प्रोविजन अकाउंट, क्योंकि हमारे पास प्रोविजन ऑलरेडी है या नहीं? ये क्वेश्चन में दिया था ना हमारे पास प्रोविजन, दिस वन. So these bad debts won't be transferred to P&L account. These bad debts will be transferred to what? Provision account. So provision account debit side to bad debts. How much? 1,000. इसकी सारी सीक्वेंशियल अकाउंटिंग एंट्रीज लिखवा के दूंगा मैं तुमको एक साथ. Alright. Now, whatever is the new provision to be maintained, new provision to be maintained means what? कि आपको अगले साल के लिए कितने प्रोविजन की रिक्वायरमेंट है. That is nothing but what we call as the new provision to be maintained. 2.5 लाख के डेटर्स के अगेंस्ट 2%, मतलब 5,000 रुपए का न्यू प्रोविजन मेंटेन करना है. That new provision is shown as a closing balance of this provision account. So provision account debit side, इसके लिए हम लोग कोई भी अलग से अकाउंटिंग एंट्री पास नहीं करते हैं. The accounting entry is passed only for the provision to be created and not for the provision to be maintained. So to balance carried down is 5,000. तो अब आप अगर ऑब्जर्व करोगे, द डेबिट साइड ऑफ प्रोविजन अकाउंट इज मोर देन द क्रेडिट साइड और नॉट. दैट मींस यू वांट टू इंक्रीज द प्रोविजन. When debit, I'll write it on the opposite side. When debit is greater than the credit, that means it indicates increase in provision. The provision. But if credit is greater than the debit side, that indicates decrease. The provision. People get that? So in this case, if the debit 6,000, credit 1,500, means I want to increase the provision by 4,500 or not. What will be the entry for that? Profit and loss account debit to provision for doubtful debts account. So provision for doubtful debt account will be credited by P&L account by rupees 4,500. You get that? Yes or no? So write down the accounting entries first and then these two examples. To create the provision for first time, accounting entries, write down. To create the provision for first time, entry will be profit and loss account debit to provision for doubtful debts account. Profit and loss account debit to provision for doubtful debts account. Under that, write down the amount of provision for doubtful debt will be subtracted from the debtors in balance sheet. The debtors in balance sheet. So stop. Next line. In the subsequent year, and that A, when the bad debts occur, entry will be bad debts account debit to respective customer account. Bad debts account debit to respective customer account. Below that, write down into bracket. If bad debts are given in trial balance, means this entry is already done. Means this entry is already done. Next. For transfer of bad debts. For transfer of bad debts. अब पहले जब हमारे पास प्रोविजन नहीं हुआ करती थी तो we would have passed the entry as profit and loss account debit to bad debts account. But now because we already have the provision, we'll not pass that entry. We'll pass the entry as what? Provision for doubtful debt account debit. Write down. Provision for doubtful debt account debit to bad debts. Next line. To increase the provision. So that provision will be not out. Increase मतलब not out होता है ना? नहीं होता है ना क्रिकेट में increase तो not out. अच्छा write down to. लोग कहते हैं सर अब अभी अभी नींद में से उठ के बैठे हैं, प्लीज आप टाइम पास मत करो। तो सुबह 10 बजे भी तुम कैसे नींद में से उठ के लेक्चर के लिए बैठ सकते हो? आई डोंट अंडरस्टैंड दिस। इससे अच्छा तो सुबह 7 वाले लेक्चर लेना चाहिए था। मैं नहीं नहीं 6 वाला, 6 बजे वाला लेक्चर सबसे बेस्ट लेक्चर है। इट सर वो तो लेक्चर आधा नींद में निकल जाता है, उसके बाद पता चलता है कि लेक्चर चालू है। बाकी सब तो मोह माया है। आज सच में वो 8 बजे वाला लेक्चर नहीं होता। अच्छा लेक्चर करके सोते हैं। वाह ये बंदा बड़ा होशियार है। सच्ची सच्ची का जैन आदमी है तू। पैसे पूरा वसूल करेगा बोलता है। यस राइट डाउन। सिद्धि बोलती है सर ऐसे आप जैन लोगों को बदनाम मत किया करो प्लीज। तो जो फैक्ट है वो बताया बेटा, बाकी कुछ नहीं। वेल राइट डाउन। टू इंक्रीज द प्रोविजन, that is available provision is less than provision required. Available provision is less than provision required. Entry. Profit and loss account debit to provision for doubtful debts account. Profit and loss account debit to provision for doubtful debts account. अब हो सकता है कुछ समय पे आपके पास अवेलेबल प्रोविजन रिक्वायर्ड से ज्यादा हो। So in that case you may be requiring to decrease your provision or not. So write down next line. To decrease the provision, to decrease the provision, what will be the entry? Reverse, that is provision for doubtful debts account debit to profit and loss account. Provision for doubtful debts account debit to profit and loss account. कल लेक्चर रखना है क्या? Tomorrow is Sunday. So why I'm asking कि अगर हो जाएगा ना तो मैं ट्यूसडे तक फिनिश कर देगा सब कुछ। Because now only problem solving is remaining. Conceptually सारा कुछ खत्म हो चुका है। Even final account. Tomorrow morning 6 o'clock. सर अभी आपको मना किया 6 बजे, अब अभी वापस आप 6 बजे लेक्चर रख रहे हो। संडे का दिन है सर, कुछ तो सोचो ना। क्या फर्क पड़ रहा है तुम लोग को? क्या मतलब तुमको समझ में भी आता है आज कौन सा दिन है? रोज तो वही रूटीन चल रहा है। हम लोग घर में उठते हैं, लेक्चर अटेंड करते हैं, खाना खाते हैं, फिर सो जाते हैं, फिर सुबह उठते हैं, फिर लेक्चर अटेंड करते हैं, फिर खाना खाते हैं, फिर सो जाते हैं। 12 PM, ओ माय गॉड। कल ना दो बड़ी एक्टिविटीज हैं। देयर इज दिस फ्रेंड ऑफ माइन हु हैज गॉट द क्लिनिक टू बी स्टार्टेड टुमारो। तो कल उनके यहाँ पूजा है, मुझे कल 10 बजे से वहां रहना है। और दोपहर में हमारे ऑफिस का भी पूजा है कल, जो रिनोवेट किया है, तो वहां भी जाना है। तो इसलिए आफ्टरनून इज नॉट पॉसिबल टुमारो। नहीं तो फिर डायरेक्टली मंडे। आई डोंट हैव एनी प्रॉब्लम विद दैट। बट मंडे सुबह पॉसिबल नहीं है, क्योंकि मंडे मैं वापस सिंहगढ़ जा रहा हूँ। तो मंडे मॉर्निंग इज नॉट पॉसिबल फॉर मी। 11 बजे कर सकते हैं, देर इज नो प्रॉब्लम मंडे को। तुम्हारा लेक्चर कितना, 1 बजे होता है ना? ओके फाइन, विल मीट डायरेक्टली ऑन मंडे देन। अभी पहले ये एग्जांपल्स लिख लो। एंट्री लिखा क्या? प्रोविजन फॉर डाउटफुल डेट अकाउंट डेबिट टू पी एंड अकाउंट, ये एंट्री लिखी है नहीं? टू डिक्रीज द प्रोविजन। हाँ, नाउ यू राइट डाउन दिस। लिख लिया? The presentation in final accounts. This is when the provision is created for the first time. अविन्या अभी एक प्रॉब्लम भी सॉल्व करना है, रुक जाओ। नहीं तो घर जाने की तैयारी होगी तेरी। क्या घर कहाँ जाएगा, घर में बैठा है तू। हाँ ना सर, सच में हमारे लिए ना घर से बाहर ही नहीं निकलने देते हैं सर घर वाले हमको। कितने बार कोरोना और खुद पूरा दिन बाहर घूमते रहते हैं, है ना। तुम लोग को जाने देते हैं आजकल? क्लास नहीं कर सकते हैं ना नाविन्य चालू, वही तो दिक्कत है। इवन वी वांट टू, बट वी कैन नॉट बिकॉज द गवर्नमेंट इज नॉट अलाउइंग दैट। क्लास चालू कर दी होती तो फिर तो कहानी अलग हो जाती हमारे लिए। खैर मैं मंडे से लेक्चर्स वहां आके लूंगा, ऑफिस से। न्यू प्लेस, डिफरेंट एनवायरनमेंट। चलो, लेट्स कम टू द प्रॉब्लम देन। Problem number 3 in our textbook. Following is the trial balance of Komal Jaggi as on 31st March 2018. Prepare trading and profit and loss account for the year ended 31st March of 2018 and balance sheet as on that date. You are given the trial balance, stock, purchases, return inward, wages, insurance, salaries, rent and taxes, bad dates, discount allowed, machinery, building, debtors, advertisement, carriage inward, cash in hand, cash at bank, office expenses and drawings. On the credit side, you have sales, return outward, discounts received, sundry creditors, capital, bank loan, bills payable. You have further been provided certain adjustment. On 31st March 2018, the value of stock was valued at 30,000. Outstanding wages 1250 and rent amounted to rupees 1,000. Insurance was paid for the year ending 30th September 2018. Year ending 30th September 2018 मतलब 6 महीने का इंश्योरेंस एडवांस में दे रखा हुआ है, क्योंकि आप 31 मार्च तक के बना रहे हो। तो अप्रैल मई जून जुलाई अगस्त सितंबर 6 महीने का जो इंश्योरेंस है ये एडवांस में दे रखा है या नहीं। सो वॉट एवर इज द इंश्योरेंस अमाउंट गिवन इन द ट्रायल बैलेंस, हाफ ऑफ दैट इज प्रीपेड इंश्योरेंस। ऑलराइट। Depreciate machinery at 10% and building at 4%. Provide RDD at 5% of sundry debtors. So there is no provision given in the trial balance, and there is a provision given in adjustments. Means this is the first year of making the provision or not? Did you understand that? So let's prepare the formats. तुम लोग तो बना के बैठे हो फॉर्मेट्स, तुमको बोला था मैंने। मैं भी बना लेता हूँ फटाफट, मेरे को बहुत मेहनत लगती है यार फॉर्मेट बनाने में, है ना। इतना कॉपी पेस्ट करना। ट्रेडिंग अकाउंट, प्रॉफिट एंड लॉस अकाउंट एंड बैलेंस शीट। Okay, our procedure will remain same. We'll first start with adjustments, correct? The very first adjustment is closing stock was valued at 30,000. Where will it appear? अच्छा, कल के वो दोनों क्वेश्चन मैच हो गए थे तुम्हारे 16 17 if you would have solved it. Okay, closing stock onto the trading account credit side by closing stock 30,000, and at the same time in the balance sheet onto the asset side stock in trade of 30,000. Is it right? Yes or no? Next one. What is the next adjustment? Outstanding wages were 1250 and rent of 1000. Now wages which is given in the trial balance is 7750, and wages being a direct expense will go into the trading account debit side or not? Yes or no? So trading account debit side to wages, inner amount column 7750, add outstanding 1250. So total of my wages is 9,000. Correct. And at the same time, wages being a liability will be appearing in the balance sheet liability side also. Outstanding wages. I'll keep it into the inner amount column itself because there is an outstanding rent of 1,000 also. Correct or not? The rent given in the trial balance is rupees 5,000. Rent and taxes diye hue hain. So in my profit and loss account, rent being an indirect expense, in my profit and loss account debit side, to rent and taxes, inner amount column 5,000, add outstanding rupees 1,000 to the outer amount column 6,000, and at the same time this outstanding rent will also appear in the balance sheet liability side or not? Pratiksha, am I going good? So outstanding rent of 1,000, the total of that goes to the outer amount column 2250. Am I right? Next, insurance was paid for the year ended 30th September 2018. Means 6 months ka rent insurance in advance 750 rupees. So it will appear where? P&L account debit side to insurance in the inner amount column 1,500 less prepaid 750 to the outer amount column. 750 will be the amount, and at the same time it being a prepaid insurance, it will be appearing in my balance sheet onto the asset side or not? Prepaid insurance rupees 750. Getting it right? Next, depreciate machinery at 10% and building at 4%. The machinery given to us in the trial balance is of 25,000 and building of 55,000. So in the balance sheet, onto the asset side first, building inner amount column 55,000 less depreciation 4%, that is 2,200. So outer amount column will be 52,800. Correct. Machinery 25,000 less depreciation at 10%, 2,500, outer amount column 22,500, and at the same time this depreciation being an expense will be appearing in P&L account debit side or not? So P&L account debit side to depreciation in that building 2,200 and machinery 2,500, outer amount column 4,700. We are trying to show the similar items together. That's it. Am I right? And then they have said provide RDD at 5% of sundry debtors. Now debtors already given to you is 70,000. Of that 5% will be the RDD or not? So in the balance sheet onto the asset side, debtors inner amount column 70,000 less provision for doubtful debts 3,500. So to the outer amount column, it will be 66,500 as debtors. Please understand, if I have reduced 3,500 from debtors does not mean I have reduced the balance of individual debtors. My individual debtor balance remain as such. For the sake of presentation, I am reducing the RDD from the debtors. Whereas RDD is a separate account. Am I right? Now, in the P&L account debit side, to provision for doubtful debts, to the extent the provision is created, that is 3,500. Am I right? समझ पा रहे हैं या नहीं? Next one. Now all adjustments done. Now I'll come back to the items of trial balance. The very first we'll go through the debit side. Stock on 1st April 2017 means this is nothing but our opening stock. Yes or no? So in the trading account debit side, to opening stock, how much is that opening stock? 50,000. Next, to purchases. Now, against that, on the contra side, there are the returns given. So we'll be required to adjust that returns from this purchases only of 1,19,000. Less returns 1,500. Balance will be 1,17,500. Am I right? Next, wage return inward is related to sales only. So let's finish the sales also. On to the credit side. By sales, inner amount column 1,90,000 less returns 3,000, balance to the outer amount column 1,87,000. Is it right? Next, Wages, insurance, we have already done. Salaries will come to the P&L account debit side or not? To salaries, 9,400. Correct? Rent and taxes already done. Now bad dates are given to you, but this was the first year of provision, therefore bad dates will appear in the P&L account as such. यही अगर हमारे पास ट्रायल बैलेंस में भी प्रोविजन का अमाउंट दिया होता तो I would have adjusted the bad debts against provision instead of transferring it to the P&L account. Did you understand that? So in the P&L account debit side, 2 bad debts, how much is that? 1,000. Aditya, you were asking the question on the other day, sir, वो जगह अगर पूरी नहीं हुई तो. Now today, after reading the question itself, I realized that there are too many items which will come on to the debit side. So instead of keeping the space in between, I have started writing it together. So automatically, when you read the question first, you tend to understand that how we are supposed to go about. अभी तक के जितने भी क्वेश्चंस थे उसमें अगर तुमने देखा होगा तो I used to keep the space in between. But today I am writing it directly. To discount allowed of 2,000. The next item which was given in the trial balance, I referred it earlier itself. Machinery building already over? Yes or no? Data also already done? Advertisement, where will it go? P&L account, debit side. To advertisement expense, rupees 10,000. Carriage inward is your direct expense or not? Carriage inward is on the goods which are coming in. And therefore carriage inward will appear where? Trading account or P&L account? Trading account. So trading account debit side to carriage inward 2350 is my carriage inward. Yes or no? Next. Cash in hand and cash at bank is my asset or not? So that will appear in the balance sheet onto the asset side. Cash in hand, cash at bank. How much is my cash in hand? 6,000 and 8,000 respectively. So it will appear onto the asset side. 6,000, 8,000 respectively. Am I going correct? Next one. Office expenses being an indirect expense will appear in the P&L account debit side. And drawings will be reduced from the capital or not. So P&L account debit side to office expense 2,000 and into the balance sheet onto the liability side capital, whatever the amount for that will be, less drawings, rupees 4,000. Capital will be picked up from the credit side of trial balance. So all items onto the debit side of trial balance are over now. Now we need to go back to the credit side of trial balance. Sales already done. Return outward already taken. Discount received is my indirect income or not? So that will appear in my P&L account onto the credit side. By discount received rupees 2,500. Sundry creditor is my liability, so it will appear in my balance sheet onto the liability side. Do not try to jump over, try to go line by line and your answer will always be correct. Sundry creditor is 52,000. Correct or not? Capital given is 1 lakh. After that, there is a bank loan and bills payable. Bank loan of 30,000 and bills payable of 5,000. So on to the liability side. Bank loan of 30,000 and bills payable of 5,000. Is it right? So all adjustments done, all the items from the trial balance done. Now what we are supposed to do? First close trading account, then profit and loss account, and after that the balance sheet. Yes or no? Trading account, credit seems to be better. 2,17,000. To gross profit. How much is that gross profit? 2,17,000 minus 50,000 minus 117,500 minus 9,000 minus 2,350. That is 38,150 is my gross profit. Now this gross profit will be brought down to P&L account or not? So into the P&L account credit side by gross profit brought down as 38,150. Correct? Still, it seems that credit side of the P&L account is also better. So 40,650 being the credit side, 650 to net profit transfer to P&L account. I'm just making a guess based on the amounts which I have been seeing. And based on that, I said that there must be the net profit. There may be a situation where there can be a net loss as well. Just a moment, Aditya, Navinya. Plus 4,700 plus 3,500 plus 9,400 plus 1,000 plus 2,000 plus 10,000 plus 2,000. So there is a profit of only 1,300. 13,700 कहाँ से आ गया? Navinya, net profit is only 1,300. Huh. Now this net profit will be added to the capital in the balance sheet or not? So in the balance sheet onto the liability side, net balance was 96,000. Add net profit rupees 1,300 to the outermost column 97,300. Yes or no? So the total of balance sheet comes to 97,300, 2250, 52,000, 30,000, and 5,000. That is 1,86,550. Is it matching? Let's cross check. 52,800 plus 22,500 plus 30,000 plus 750 plus 66,500 plus 6,000 plus 8,000. 186,550. Did you people get it? Next question, that is question number 18 is homework now. 16 17 कर लिया ना तुम लोगों ने? 18 is homework now. And the rest of the problem for that will be meeting on Monday at 11 o'clock. Is it fine? So we'll meet. Thank you.